We're going to start with Thermo 2000 is the company name. A lot of times we get confused with the Turbomax as our company name, but that's one of our products. So we're actually Thermo 2000 is the company name. We are a Canadian manufacturer. We are out of Richmond, Quebec, Canada. That's our North American headquarters. As we are today, Equipco is our agent in Western Canada and also in Ontario. Oh, we got the timer on. So I got to talk fast. Anyway, this is how we actually product line when we started with the original BTH, and then we evolved over and to now. This is our product line right now. So we basically, we're going to throw a presentation on all our products. Again, it's going to be brief. Don't want to throw too much information at you. So our website has been improved. So there's a lot of information on our website. So first and foremost, we are an electric boiler manufacturer. That's our bread and butter. So electric boilers is where we evolved from. So we have the mini from 3 to 12 kW all the way up to the BTH Ultra up to 36 kW. So, so basically the mini BTH is a unit that is what we call no electronic card. So it's a multi-staged with aquastats, and it's nice and clean, slick. You get it's from 3 to 12, 240. It has a 120 volt pump supply, and also your 24 volt for your thermostat or some accessories. So when you see the word ultra after something, it's because of the ultra controller, which is our controller, our software, and we'll go through it as we go. Oh, we're going too fast here. Just give me a second here. There we go. All right. So the good thing also is our boiler is, looks like I got to turn off the timer. There we go. All right. So the Ultra controller is basically designed for it, and we'll talk a little bit about the controller. The Ultra, the BTH Ultra also comes in different voltages. So we got 208, 480, and 600 three-phase. So all our electric boilers are bioenergy or dual energy. And the next slide, you can put it in multi-positions as far as in and out. What a lot of contractors like is you do not need a primary, secondary for our boilers. So that's less piping and a really nice configuration in small little areas. 15 years on the pressure vessel and 2 years on parts. So as I was talking about the controller, it has an adjustable pump off delay. Also, the boiler has stages, equal runtime per stage. So we also have, each boiler comes with outdoor reset. Backlit shows the state of operation in the system. So you'll see right in front of you, great for, you know, if there's any troubleshooting or anything that I can see a lot by, I know what the boiler's not doing or doing just by a picture of what the controller says. So it's really good. There's also a boost mode available in the controller. So we also do built-in parameters as far as outdoor reset. We built in curves. So if you're doing a radiant in concrete, you'll have a specific curve for that, and there, it's all set. So as I said, the BTH Ultra is in and out, and it comes with a relief valve, and a drain valve. Everything else you have to purchase from the supplier. So we get into the Voltmax, which is our commercial boiler. So it comes in 3 different sizes as far as case-wise. 90 kilowatts and less is this framework. Over 90 kW is this. And then we get into our very big commercial. That box never changes, just the kilowatts change in the box. So again, many phases, many voltages, 3-phase, single phase. So again, in just like our small minis and ultras, it's in and out. You don't need primary, secondary. Not saying you can't, but it does not need it because we're not a heat exchanger. We are a tank and vessel. As you can see, the size 11 gallons, 30 gallons, and 62 gallons. The other thing is there is some options available in some of the boilers. Some engineers will want a higher PSI, or if you get head pressure from a building. So each one has to be ordered to the rate of PSI needed. As I said, 4 connections in and out. The only thing here is that the supply always has to come off the top of the boiler. And that's because that's where the elements are. And the flow sensors and everything else is on top of the boilers. So built-in curves the pressure loss. As I said, we're a tank, not a heat exchanger. So you can see very, very little pressure drop across big flow rates on our boilers. So this is a nice little picture of a electric boiler Voltmax with some zone pumping. So the Voltmax, the 180 Voltmax comes in 2 types of controllers. We have the STG, which is more or less modulation by staging each element. And that's done with a PDI regulator. And the good thing is it's not always the same stages, not always the same elements on at the time they cycle and turn. So each element gets the same amount of runtime. So that's only available in the 180 version. So 180 and under, you can get either STG or SCR. Now the big 400 is all SCR control. So SCR means that we modulate the elements from 0% to 100%, a bank of elements. So depending on what the size of the boiler, there's always going to be one bank of elements that is going to stage from 0 to 100%. So basically, it gives you, a modulating effect on the boiler system. So we can actually control it by 2 different 10-volt DC controls. We have one that you can control on a temperature base, or one you can control on power control. So you want that boiler to run at 80% all the time, you just program it in with a 10-volt, put a 10-volt DC on it, and it automatically works. It's BACnet compatible. It's not wireless. Contacts are also available for external alarms. You can set up the controller to send emails with the alarms. You have pump relays available. The amperage measurement is only on the 3-phase models. And you have return and boiler flow readings on the controller. I'll go through that right now. So basically, the controller is a Schneider Electric from Schneider Electric. It's our software. It's a 3-inch backlit display. So temperature control is based on from 50 degrees Fahrenheit to 210 C, 93 C, has 5 temperature control modes. And you can also set it on a fixed set point when you use with it domestic hot water priority. So basically what we do in the design of the Voltmax, so we kind of split the power thing where the low voltage is in one compartment, the high voltage is in another compartment. Sometimes it's the same contractor that does both. Sometimes it's one or the other. So we kind of separate it that one doesn't like high and one doesn't like low. So it's pretty much designed for the contractor. So as I said, the display, this is just like the Ultra Smart controller. It tells you everything that's happening. So you know whether your pump is on, you know at what capacity you are, you know your stages, you know your temperatures, you know your kilowatts, and you know your pressure. Also, on the SCR models, you get all your different alarms and pressure problems, electrical flow problems. All the sensors are displayed at the bottom. And then obviously your warning lights, red is you got a problem, yellow, there's something going on, and green is all good. So once a PO is sent to us, what we'll do is we have a pre-factory adjustment, pre-factory form that goes out with all our Voltmax boilers. And what that does is it allows either the control company or the engineer to tell us what they want this boiler to do. And we actually build it and test it to that. So when it gets out in the field, it's pretty much a plug and play. But there's also phone support if you need to do modifications. And if there's internet internet available, we can get into the program and make changes from the factory. All right, so that's our electric boiler line. So the Turbomax. The Turbomax is a semi-instantaneous indirect water heater. So unfortunately, Evan and I tried to do the video, but no sound came out, so I won't show the video, but it is on our website. So you can go on the website and have a look at the different videos on our website. So the Turbomax is a reverse indirect compared to everybody else. And what I mean by that is we store boiler water and we put domestic through a copper coil. And that's how we exchange the boiler water through the coil to give you domestic water. So it's a little bit different. So it's a little bit different thinking. So basically, if you look at the models, the first number of the model is how many gallons, US gallons, are in the tank of boiler water. The second number is how many coils are in the Turbomax. And then this is your domestic flow, maximum flow that you can get out of each Turbomax with the amount of coils that are in there. So each coil represents 3 gallons of flow. Now, there's a lot of guys that are going to say, oh, you know, we do make the 109 and the 65 in ASME if some engineers are speccing it or want to spec it. But technically, the 109 is 119 gallons, and these diameter are the outside of the tank with the jacket on it. So basically, some of the benefits, it's resistant to corrosion because it's boiler water. So if your boiler water is treated, and well maintained, then you're going to have a long life with the Turbomax, because there's no chance of any scale buildup. There is no magnesium anodes to replace, and there's no cleaning of the tank due to pressure vessel inspections, because we're not storing domestic water. The coil is designed to expand and contract. It's like an accordion. So if there is a little bit of scale buildup, it will fall down into the bottom of the tank, and then you can clean it. We do have a higher pressure drop through the coil, and that's due to the fact so that we can scrub the inside of the coil so that there is no scale buildup on the inside. So basically, because we're copper, we have a high rate of transfer, and we'll just go over that a little bit. And also, you have a built-in buffer tank for your boiler, because you have a vessel full of boiler water that eliminates the boiler from cycling if it's on some small loads. So the quality of water is impeccable due to the fact that there's no scale in the tank, and also there's no chance of Legionella growing in the tank, because we have nothing, no surfaces of scale to be for Legionella to grow. The other thing is engineers and architects like the fact that the space that we take, 5,000 gallon storage tank is roughly 144 square feet. 3 Turbomax is only 20 square feet. So you can get the tank up in an elevator, up into a mechanical room through a door. Don't need cranes, and it also can be adapted to many energy sources. So it's 15 years residential and 10-year commercially, non-derating. So that means full from start to finish. So basically, a little bit of performance charts. The 109 can exchange roughly about 900,000 BTUs. So basically, this is your first hour here, this first column. These are your domestic temperatures. And this is your continuous. This is where we shine. You know, all day long, you give me 900,000 BTUs, you're going to get 1,546 gallons of water at 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So again, different sizes. So when you look at us compared to our competition, we can exchange 3 to 5 times more capacity from the Turbomax than anybody out on the market. You know, when you look at it, what does that mean? It means that, you know, it takes 2 or 3 of their tanks to do what one of our tanks is. So if we're a little bit more expensive in the long run, it's going to take more tanks, more pipe work, more labor to get the same output that our Turbomax can do. So this is a couple of buildings in Montreal that have our Turbomaxes. They actually won a couple awards for energy efficient and points and everything else. So this is just an example of the buildings that we can accommodate with the Turbomax. CFL fans, I know this stadium, we've been there, and we've seen the mechanical rooms, and boy, the mechanical engineer had a hard time putting a lot of stuff in those little rooms, but he did, and it looks great, and it works great so far that I know. This is a project in Winnipeg that Ryan Bristol worked hard in getting, and we got him. I'm not sure at what point we are in all the projects, but I know they're slowly changing out all the storage tanks, and you know, I haven't heard anything negative yet. So basically, a standard, you know, very basic system, domestic production and space heating, one boiler, you know, nothing fancy. The thing is, we put the boiler water in at the top of the tank, and the domestic goes in at the bottom of the tank. So we actually reverse flow. So that gives you a good buffering system and a good thermal mass of boiler water in the Turbomax to help with the runtime on the boiler. So if you're doing multiple tanks, we like first fed, last return. It just gives you an even flow across the Turbomaxes. Here we show it with one pump, but we also have engineers that put a pump on each tank, depending on how they want to call for the heat. So the Turbomax also has an option of TXT, which is extra tappings on the side of the tank. So now it becomes a true buffer and domestic production all in one tank. Now it's an option, and they're the same size as what the boiler tappings are for the boiler. So if they're 1.5 inches, these will be 1.5 inches. So basically, again, it's a built-in, it's a buffer for your boiler. You have little micro loads or mini loads, which, you know, can happen a lot in residential. This is ideal, and if space is a problem, this is, again, will solve that problem for you. So this is just showing a Turbomax with the extra tappings married to a geothermal system. Obviously, because geo has a limited temperature, you have to, you know, either bring up the temperature for in-floor if you're doing high temp, and also you need a finishing tank for your domestic water so that you can get it up to the temperature that you need. So we do have sizing charts available, both for 180-degree boiler water and also for 160-degree boiler water. So basically, the important thing when you're looking at the sizing charts is make sure you know that what you're sizing. The peak period is very important, usually the demographics of the building, and also the fact that how many people are in the building. So basically, we base it on 2.5 people, but if you have, you know, less, then, you know, you can go to the 75-person column, and then that's what your Turbomax is. You'll notice there's an A and a B. The A option is more for new construction or changing out the boiler. And B is you have a boiler that's, you know, still got some life to it, but it's not enough BTUs needed for that amount of water to be produced. You can add a buffer tank or a storage tank to the system, and now you have added BTUs from the thermal mass of that storage tank. So a little bit of advantage if you have a boiler that's, you know, fairly new and you want to utilize it. So same thing if you have, you know, 3-bedroom apartments. You just, again, how many people, you multiply it by the units, and then you come up with the number. Look for that number in column of the actual persons, and then you run across, and then you'll see how it changes the BTUs and also the number of Turbomax needed. So as I said, there's a little bit of pressure drop across the coil, and we do that purposely so that we clean the coil. And very little pressure drop in the tank because we're a tank and not a coil. So you can use smaller circulators and really get the system down. You all know what the problem is when you store water. You got calcium and scale and everything else, so you reduce the efficiency of the unit. That doesn't happen with the Turbomax. And also the lifespan of the hot water heaters. So basically, you know, we like to see a tempering valve added to our Turbomax just for anti-scald and protect the end user. Now, in Vancouver, the Turbomax cannot be installed in commercial buildings, and that's a written rule. And this is why we have the Double Max. So it's exactly like the Turbomax, only now it's a double wall coil. So basically, the rule to double wall is it has to have 360-degree visual detection on the outside of the tank so that if there is a breach, it's visible. So this is how we accommodate it. We do a double flange and a double tube. And it's mostly because there's toxicity in the water, in the boiler water, or some sort of let me sleep nice at night, knowing that if somebody does add toxicity to the boiler water or chemical treatment, it's 100% safe. So basically, in the Turbomax, the extra tappings are an option, but in the Double Max, they come standard. It's in 3 sizes. We have a 50-gallon, an 80-gallon, and a 120. And again, 4 coils, 5 coils, 9 coils. So this is just showing you a Double Max with a boiler and domestic. So 15 years, again, 10 years commercial, 2 years on parts. So now what we do is we have a combi unit that has taken the Turbomax and the electric boiler together. We combined it together and we came up with a standalone electric combi unit. So basically, the Combo Max Ultra is a space heating and domestic production all in one unit. Again, very compact. It comes in 2 sizes, a 50-gallon and a 70-gallon, and it comes in 4.5 from 4.5 all the way up to 29 kilowatts. It only comes in 240 volt single phase. It comes with the Ultra Smart controller, has a safety valve, pressure relief valve for the boiler side, and contractors like that there's a pre-factory stuff that's available on the top of the tank, which is right here. There's a lid comes off. It comes with the pressure gauge, check valve, boiler makeup, and the backflow preventer. You also have your domestic hot water tempering valve, automatic air vent, and tridicator gauge. So basically, very good if you have multiple emitters in the house, or very good if you're doing multi-level building and you don't want to put gas valve lines through it. Put this in a closet and it's pretty much ready to go. 4-position, multi-position inlets and outlets. Again, very good for the contractor to be able to arrange the tank in any configuration. So again, no anodes to change, no scale buildup on the elements. So it's always going to be, if it's a 6 kW, it's going to be a 6 kW. No sludge in the bottom of the tank, and very easy to service. It's one panel, and you can see everything in front. As I said, on top of the tank, And you also have domestic priority. So if you have it hooked up to a single pump to run an in-floor, somebody jumps in the shower and they're taking longer than 15 minutes, it will automatically turn that pump off and give priority to domestic. So this is basically showing you a quick drawing of what it would be like. We also have a commercial version, and that one goes up to 30 kW, and it's also available in 600 volt three-phase. We've done a couple of projects with Ryan, again, with eye wash stations in factories, where this is right there, right beside the eye wash, and we actually meet their standard that they need. You need so many GPMs at so much time at so much temperature with this tank. So we've had some success with that in that situation. Works very good in schools when schools are shut down. In the summertime, they don't have to run big boiler plants. They can run, their cleaning staff can use these tanks in lieu of the big boiler plants and still have lots of hot water. Gyms like it because, again, the footprint is small. They don't have to have big storage tanks, and we keep up to the demand that they have in gymnasiums and spas. So this one is one that I like really a lot because of the fact that the name says it all. It's alt source. And the reason being is because it can be married to geothermal, air to water heat pumps, wood boilers, biomass, solar, anything that makes hot water. This can be a backup to the energy source and be able to help in the performance of the system. So basically all we did was we took an electric boiler with our Buffmax, and it became the alt source with a standard boiler tank style boiler with heating elements. Then what we did was we also took an option of the copper coils inside of it with the Turbomax, so you can act as a, if you're marrying it with a boiler that can give you high temperature to make domestic water, then you don't need a finishing tank or an alternative tank for the domestic. Or you can do it as a preheat, so your COP on your alternative energy is a lot higher, so your delta T is reduced in to the finishing tank. Again, the alt source comes in two sizes, 50 and 70. I know there's a lot of guys saying, what's the difference between this and the Combo Max? If you notice, this does not have all the components on top of the tank. So you need your fill valve, you need all that stuff exterior added onto the system as opposed to the Combo Max. Because in some cases, if you're using it without domestic production, you don't need all that fancy stuff on top of the tank. Again, goes from 4.5 up to 29 kilowatts. The 27 and 29 are only available in the 70-gallon tank. Same as the Combo Max, 4 ports. So basically, if you look at what an auxiliary boiler and tank would look like, you know, if you have a wood boiler, you need a thermal mass, you need an auxiliary boiler, and then you need a whole bunch of a heat exchanger to make domestic water. So you look at it all together. As a contractor, you know there's a lot of parts and things to put together, more labor, more space, more wall. So plain and simple, this is what it would look like with the alt source. So you basically have your wood boiler, the alt source, and your heat emitter and your domestic production, all with pretty much a nice little compact little area. So that's basically what it would look like with a wood burning added to with domestic. So when you get again, you look at an air to water heat pump system, you know, all the different components needed. Again, pretty straightforward if you do air to water heat pumps. Again, if you're going with the alt source, the only difference is that if you're doing air conditioning, you need a diverter valve applied to the system because this tank is not designed for chilled water. So if you're doing preheat for domestic water, then you need to finish it off with a domestic tank or instantaneous. Geothermal, same thing, you know, and again, it's basically one tank does it all. So the last thing we offer is a buffer tank. So what makes us different than everybody else's buffer tank is basically one key thing is the bottom drain valve is actually the bottom of the tank. And our connections are a lot bigger than most tanks. We have adjustable legs on all our tank, forgot to mention, on all our tank design systems. There is some options that you can get. You can get extra tappings on the tank. The geothermal guys and the wood burning guys like it, so they can stratify the tank. We can also give you different tapping diameter wise. We also have flange connections. There's aquastat control we can give you. And this tank has an option to be with insulation for chilled water. It goes from 30 all the way up to 200 ASME. 10-year warranty on the tank. That's it. I see there was some questions.
Hey, Nico. So this is Evan here. We just had one question that was
Yeah.
posted. This is Chad. He's saying, I have a low ceiling application where I will need 2 smaller Turbomaxes to make required DHW. Should we plumb them in a series or parallel to be the most effective?
So most effective would be obviously in series, because you just go in one and out the other. But you know, depending on what the load is domestically, you may want to look at how many GPM of flow do you actually need, and then that would determine which way to go.
Right on. Does anyone else have any final questions before we close the webinar?
So I just want to add a little bit of stuff. I don't know how many people actually subscribe to the HPAC magazine, but there was a very good article in there by Robert Waters, who now is the president of the Canadian Hydronic Council. Anyway, as we all know, you know, I talk about our product and how we can fit into a lot of applications out there. But as things are happening, our electric boilers are becoming more and more in demand as we get into the carbon footprint, you know, carbon neutral, whatever you want to call it. Are we there yet? No, in my opinion. Will we get there? Absolutely. You know, there's certain things that are already that are moving forward. Vancouver is already putting in place, if they're not going with full electric, they're adding electric boilers to their systems as a backup, or taking advantage of dual energy. Um, our product is available in either or. The other thing is, you know, as our government implements more carbon taxes and everything else, you know, gas will probably always be cheaper. And in some cases, I've heard that the infrastructure is not being even put in some new surveys of gas, because they're going 100% electric. Um, Heat pump has been around, but it's making a real growth in the market. And as you can see, we have products that can marry with a lot of the alternative energy that's coming forward. So whether it's a backup or whether it's, you know, primary system, whatever, we are able to accommodate um, the alternative market as we move forward. You know, I'm available if you need sizing. Equipco is also available. If you want to do more in depth, please voice it to Equipco or myself, and we can basically, you know, the great thing of computers is we can be at a lot of places uh, uh, at once. So basically, that's it for me. If there is no more questions, I think, Evan, whatever you want to do, it's up to you.
Right on.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nico. We're going to wrap it up. Everyone, I have a recording of this, so we'll be adding it to YouTube in the next day or two, and I'll be sure to email it out to everyone who attended and registered for the webinar. Thank you very much, Nico. That was awesome.
All right. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Have a great week, everyone. Bye.